21 today. 21 today. He's got the key in the door. The show's 21st episode is today.
Happy
Uh,
21st.
Happy 21st to us all. As every British policeman always says, hello, hello, hello. Yes, welcome one and all to your favourite motoring pod. We are back giving you the lowdown and cast from, quite frankly, our bizarre and quintessentially British perspective. I say, where is my monocle? This week, we've got lots in store for listeners to the world's only car show without the pictures, including a shout out to unsung motoring roads. We've got lost highways. We've got a tribute to Britain's first motorway that turned 60 this week and doesn't look a day over 52. I didn't even buy him a present. We're also going, or it could be a her, or a she, or a z, or a z. It's a thing. It's a motorway. We're also going to tackle an emerging classic car in our classic car selection, where less is often better than more. A classic car can be an absolute money pit. Well, here at Car-boyz, we prove it doesn't have to be. You can literally have your cake and eat it. This week, we have a feline offering from the British Motor Corporation, which, what are you guessing? We're also taking a good hard look at my mailbag, having a rummage around that bulging sack and answering your correspondence, which, of course, will be electronic, like Kraftwerk. Basically, she's a model. Basically, we'll be answering your car-related questions, and of course, it wouldn't be Car-boyz without the news that ain't fit to print in the news. This week, as a journalist, I'll be asking some probing questions.
Oh, I do know you do like a good probing, don't you?
Love it.
Yes, welcome back. It's the show that revs into your radio, the only car program on the planet that has no pictures. Not out of choice, but purely out of budget. We have none at all.
No,
we've got a great show as usual, and this week live from London again with no special guests, and that's because we're cheap on production values and have no guests. We do have the car quiz though. Where I should be posing the questions in the role of the quizmaster, not unlike Blankety Blank's Terry Wogan or Les Dawson, but a little less dead than those two, of course. I like to think I'm more like Steve Jones from the Pyramid Game. Yes, it's sweet.
Is that Welsh guy that badly does the Formula One on Channel 4?
Oh, no. Oh, no, not him. No, Steve Jones. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
But this week's quiz is car firsts. And as my co-host mentioned, all the usual guff is here. We got the postbag, we got the quiz, answering the age-old question of, is there a need to buy a Dacia or Dacia? However old, ill, or infirm you are.
I don't think there is. It's like the Kleenex of cars, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm thinking Andrex, not Kleenex. I am Simon Tudron. I'm from the hood, and I keep it real. My life is like a soundtrack I wrote on the beat. Treat rap like Cali weed. I smoke till I sleep. Wake up at AM, compose a beat. I bring the fire till you're soaking in your seat.
Wow. It's like Snoop Dogg was in the room. Do you think he was talking about smoking Benson and Hedges?
Possibly. Yeah.
Smoking. And I'm Richard Green, because I'm a model, you know what I mean? I do my little turn on the catwalk. Yeah, on the catwalk. On the catwalk, yeah. I shake my little tush on the catwalk. Even. Yes, 90s British pop music there. And that was exactly how Richard Fairbrass sung it, I believe.
I think so.
From Rice and Fred.
Yeah.
I'm a little cat model, you know what I mean? Yeah, on the catwalk, on the catwalk. And this, what is this?
This is Car-boyz.
Okay, first off, time for my weekly rant when I turn into a miserable old codger, or even more of a miserable old codger, and tell you kids how it was better when we could still have rationing and you could always leave your door unlocked and no one would steal from you. Although I've always locked my doors, and the only place I've lived where you could leave your doors unlocked was the United States, strangely enough. Very weird. In a town called Burlington.
Oh,
I've just announced it to the world. If you want to go robbing, well, this was nearly 30 years ago. We didn't have a key to the door in the house we lived. And I said, "Isn't this an issue?" And the guys that we lived with said, "No, because it's a safe part of town."
Wow.
So, yeah, Burlington. So America, see, we get a wrong impression. We think everybody's, got loads of guns and stuff. Never lock the door of this house. There was nothing worth stealing. That would be the other thing. Anyway, back to my rant. This week, my rant does not take us back into the depths of time. It to a time when nobody drove a car. I mean, the pre-1960s in this country. And neither am I going to take you back to the 1930s, when we still had the death penalty, and when men were men and homosexuals ran in fear of the law. No, I'm going to turn the clocks back just a decade or so to the late 2000s and the issue of parking. Parking in particular in the United Kingdom. There's a dreaded three-letter acronym that's become the nemesis of many commuters around the UK. Alternatively, this three-letter acronym is welcomed by local residents and homeowners like the embrace of a long-lost lover. That acronym is CPZ, or commonly known as controlled parking zones. Now, for people outside Britain, is traditionally where a number of streets, say near a train station, a town centre or a local scout hut, are deemed too busy to have parking in or around them. And what parking there is shall be reserved for the use of local residents. Usually special badges are issued for locals and signs telling you where and when to park. Well, a decade or so, CPZs, or controlled parking zones, were frequent but not necessarily a common sight. In fact, they were rare outside of London. Now, like the Black Death, they've spread across the whole of the UK once again. Because once you start use these things, more and more residents demand that you keep using them. I'll explain. I used to live in East London, and many years ago, right next to an underground train station. And we had controlled parking zones. I could park my car on the street, but not car driving commuters. They needed to get to the station. They were pushed further away from the station, a few streets back. The idea was they would get a bus, or instead to go to the tube station. Well, buses are expensive and irregular in this country, so people stayed in their cars and they just walked a bit further. Well, then the local residents in those areas further away from the station got annoyed, so the council extended the CPZ, the controlled parking zone, a little further and a little further then. And within 4 years, you had to park your car 2 miles away from the station to get a free parking space and not receive a ticket. Well, okay, you say you live in London and it's busy and most of it was designed in the Victorian era when no one had cars. You have to put up with this. Well, being British and subjects of the Crown and not citizens, yes, we do, but the situation's got worse and worse. I live on the outskirts of London, southwest London, and I mean right on the outskirts. I'm about 400 yards from the end of the London transport zones where there are CPZs all over my neighbourhood. So just an example, I used to live in Zone 3 and they were pretty prolific. I now live in Zone 6 and they're just as prolific. I work in West London and trying to find a free parking space there is like trying to find a teetotaler at Oktoberfest. But it gets worse. Come a little closer, it gets worse. I grew up in a small town in the Cotswolds, and 10 or so years ago, you could park in the town centre for free. You could certainly park on the side streets all day. If you went out at night, you could park all over the town centre for free. That's gone. The controlled parking zones have spread like a rash, covering 4 square miles of the town. You can't park anywhere, day or night, evening or weekends, 24 hours a day. It's all controlled parking zones to help local residents be able to park. Heaven forbid trying to head down to Cornwall, a rural county right on the edge of the UK. In the summer months, such as the draw of the beaches, there is nowhere left to park at all.
Wow.
But, unlike Jenny from the block, it's a big but.
It's a big but.
Local residents are the same people who go to the shops and the restaurants and the beaches. They use their cars outside their houses, protected by CPZs, to travel to other areas which have CPZs, meaning they can't park there. Right in the heart of my hometown, retailers are going bust and closing up. My old hometown looks like a ghost town. And before you start moaning about cycling, and people walking, yes, I get it. But sometimes you've got 3 kids or you've got an elderly relative, or maybe you're just in a rush and you've got stuff to do. Well, CPZs aren't helping anyone. They make it easier for you to park outside your home, which is great, but they don't help you when you want to park outside somebody else's. The answer is to offer some alternatives, paid for parking, parking meters, better bus services, better all-round public transport, but at least offer a carrot and not just a stick of CPZs, control parking zones.
I think you're absolutely right. It's with this week in British news, there's a retailer called Mothercare, and they could be closing down. And I think that's partly, you're right in saying it's contributing to the death of the high street. So you can't park anywhere in town.
No.
So they can't, and then they're putting up the rent as well and things like that. And it's just, everything's just a mess. How does it work?
I've worked in places. I work in West London. One of them was Ealing.
Yes.
And away from Ealing Station for about I'm getting almost 2 miles, you can't park. But you've got empty roads. You've got most of Ealing is pretty gentrified, and certainly near Ealing Common, big houses with their own driveways, with their own parking areas. So they don't park on the street. But then nobody can park on the street because it's CPZs. But you just go down these empty streets. We'll say, well, why don't the council put some meters and say, well, if you want to park here in the day, we'll charge you £5 a day. I pay it. I don't mind even giving you the cash. But I'm going to get done what I want to get done. Whether or not I'm going to get a ticket, whether or not I'm going to pay on a meter, whether or not I'm going to go to car park, I need to get stuff done. I'm really busy. And CPZs, and as I said, dropping my children off, I cannot pick my children up from outside the school because of the CPZs.
Yeah.
So I have to park a good mile away and walk. Such is the nature of what we're having to deal with at the moment. As I said, if you want to give us your opinions, you can always go to you can also email us or go to the Facebook page. Email the Car-boyz at car-boyz@outlook.com. Car-boyz@outlook.com. Facebook is car-boyz at car-boyz with 4 Zs. Twitter, car-boyz with a Z at car_boys with a Z. I'll have a deep breath now. Taking some clean air. Letting the good thoughts out the bad. Should we do some news?
Yes.
Nose.
That always made me laugh. And first off, this week in the What's the Point of That car/truck news, Tesla will unveil its long-awaited electric pickup truck dubbed Cybertruck. Later this month, CEO Elon Musk has confirmed. Musk took to Twitter to post Cybertruck unveil on the 21st of November in LA near SpaceX rocket factory. Ooh, sounds exciting. He has linked the dates to the original Blade Runner film, which lists the same date as in the opening credits. Is it for real? The date also coincides with the Los Angeles Motor Show, which is likely to be intentional. Little is known about the pickup beyond what Musk has alluded to, but it's claimed it will be similar in size to the class-leading Ford F-150 and cost less than $50,000 and be more capable than any rival. Design-wise, everything seen so far has been purely speculative. Last month, Musk tweeted, "It's closer to an armored personal carrier from the future." So if you've not seen one of these before, it's almost Terminator-esque. It looks like someone's chopped off.
I'll be honest, it looks like an L200 Warrior.
Yeah. Well, the back does.
But the last L200, not the current model, like an 08 L200 Warrior.
Okay, yeah, you've got a point there. We'll post the pictures up later on Facebook if we haven't already done it. Pickups are, in actual fact, still the best-selling vehicles in North America, so the move makes financial success sense, even. Ford sold more than 900,000 F-Series trucks in 2018, making it the best-selling vehicle in the US of A. Ford, though, on the other hand, plans to launch an electric version of the F-150 before 2022.
Okay, good luck with that, but people that drive F-150s don't live in Hollywood. They live. I'm a guy. They live in what they despairingly called the flyover states. They live. They don't live on the coast. Don't live in New York. They don't live in Los Angeles. So, and America is quite big. So if you've got a lot of mileage to do.
We've said this before. I mean, we did this as the quiz a couple of weeks ago, where we said, well, hold on a minute. If the range of these vehicles aren't very good, how are you supposed to be cruising down, I don't know, Route 66, for example, if there's no electric points there to charge your vehicle?
So if you've got three, I mean, it's the other thing is, I don't know. That's a really big point. If you've got distance to do, this is not going to be the car to do it. And you've got to remember when you get there to plug it in, and then you're there. So if you know you're going to do 300 miles a day, you've also got to drive like a parish priest. You have to drive very conservative, very, very slowly, because if you really hammer on the electric as opposed to the gas, you're going to go through your 300 miles. Then you're going to go, oh, actually, I can't get home. And I don't know what it's like with the lithium batteries that they put inside. But my guess is as they get older, they won't hold their charge as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Certainly, certainly as my new iPhone will attest. I think we're down to 88% on battery life. That's not as bad as my old iPhone, but less said about that, the better. I'm not sure. Also, pickup truck, utility vehicle, treated like crap, gets job done, chuck a load of paint in the back. Is this the vehicle that's going to do that? I want torque. If I've got a pickup and I've got to go and get 100 weight of bricks, I want torque.
Yeah.
I want decent suspension. I want something that'll be a bit of a mug plugger because we've got to get on the building site round the back and dump the bricks, and then we've got to get round here. Is it going to get that? Is it going to have 4-wheel drive?
I don't think this is very well thought out.
It's lovely, and maybe if I own an Apple shop in West Hollywood, and I drive to my home in 200 meters down the road in Santa Monica or wherever, I'm guessing this is the car for me to have and look really cool. And a delivery truck, a green delivery truck, I can see that's where it would be, perfect where we live in London for maybe a delivery company.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to invest, I don't know. Let's do some sexy car news. Sexy electric car news. Ford has unveiled a one-off electric Mustang prototype, which can produce 888 brake horsepower. It features a 6-speed manual gearbox. They showed this off at the SEMA show in Vegas this week. It's called the Lithium, which is very clever, and developed in conjunction with Webasto. Didn't Webasto used to make PVC roof covers for Triumph Stags? Webasto. Okay. This comes ahead of the forthcoming Mach-E, fully electric Mustang-inspired SUV, which is due to be unwrapped at Los Angeles Motor Show later this month. The Lithium has several upgrades over the standard Mustang. Like the basic model, Ford has added carbon fiber body parts, 20-inch wheels, wicked. It also receives Ford's performance track handling pack, added modified struts and track lowering springs that lower the car to approximately 1 inch closer to the ground, as well as 6-piston Brembo front brakes. Nice. Interior retains much of the same layout as standard car, but you've got a 11-inch touchscreen. 4 new drive models are going to be called the Valet, the Sport, the Trek, and the Beast. Ooh. Oh no, that's not models. That's modes. Oh, that's
modes, yeah.
Really good. The wheel and dash door and sides come with a custom blue trim under the bonnet. The typical Mustang V8 is replaced with a Power dual-core electric motor that's paired with an 800-watt Webasto. Oh, Webasto electric battery, and it's got a Webasto roof. If you're listening in America, you're going, no, Webasto make batteries. Well, Webasto in England used to make PVC pleather, leatherette covers for sunroofs. Okay. 880 pound brake horsepower, 1,000 pound-foot of torque can generate, is delivered through 6-speed manual gearbox. Ford has made no endurance claims for the electric Mustang, but it appears it was designed for speed rather than a long battery range. By contrast, the range is the only official specification which the company has revealed it becoming a Mach-E, which will be capable of 370 miles per charge. But I guess if you drive it like a parish priest, as we just said.
Yes.
I don't like electric vehicles. This thing, though, looks amazing. You cannot see, well, I've printed that out in grayscale, but on the colour picture, the bonnet looks like it's from the movie Tron.
It does. It's got all the looks of a Mustang, with the only difference being it's got electric motor in it. But the concerning thing in this story says Ford had the Mach-E electric Mustang-inspired SUV. Again, it's going back to this idea that cars are getting bigger because they need to put somewhere to put all those batteries in.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
It looks sexy, though. It looks sexy.
It does.
It looks very, very sexy.
I can imagine Steve McQueen in that. In Bullet. Should we do some more news?
Yes, go. Let's have some more.
In Bug Me, there's no car companies left news. The agreed merger between Fiat Chrysler Automobiles and PSA Group will create the world's 4th largest car company based on sales. The 2 European firms last week announced their intention to create a new entity owned 50-50 between the two, but led by PSA's CEO Carlos Tavares, which he didn't have a hits in the charts.
Was it More Than a Woman? More Than a Woman. And didn't he also have he had a hit with Disco Inferno as well.
Yes, he did.
Turner.
Yeah. PSA.
Woman to me.
PSA will also appoint 6 board members against 5 for the FCA, in effect giving the French company control over the decision making. The
Wow.
combination of the two will create a 15-brand automotive behemoth that together sold 4.2 million vehicles in the first half of this year, behind the Volkswagen Group, Toyota, and the Renault, Datsun, Nissan, Mitsubishi alliance, ahead of the General Motors, Hyundai, Kia, and figures suggested by the Jato Dynamics show. So, lots of companies in this. We'll give you some stats in a minute. The company would be big enough to capture successfully the opportunities and manage effectively the challenges of the new era in mobility. According to the joint... Sorry, I'm laughing at what you're doing because I can work out what it is. According to the joint statement, referencing the high cost of investing in new technologies such as EVs and autonomous cars, despite being highly profitable, FCA has been chasing a merger ever since its previous CEO, the late Sergio Mascioni, who I think made some spaghetti westerns, I'm not sure, warned that in his 2015 treatise Confessions of a Capital Junkie, that car makers had to consolidate in order to have any hope of controlling spiraling development costs, which is why lots of them are taking over each other.
I'll stop you there because I think I was meant to cut a lot of this out on the next page.
Okay, blah, 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 blah,
Blah, blah, blah, blah. Interesting
blah.
question.
Yes. The interesting question is, what happens to Alfa Romeo and Maserati, turning Maserati into Italian equivalent of the VW group profit machine Porsche, and has always had the tantalising goal. And earlier this year, FCA announced that a £4.3 billion investment program into electrifying Maserati. So yes, maybe Tavares is the man to fully unlock this. It says.
Apparently, it's more than a woman. To me, anyway. Sorry.
But yes, they may sell Alfa Romeo to the VW Group, which was once a coveted prized possession.
Yeah, because VW, I think,
own most of the world.
Yeah, VW own Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Audi R8 shares lots of stuff, and that's good for Lamborghini. That's good to give them that sort of a bit more quality. You're going to have, so they're big. You've got Toyota, VW, Hyundai, Kia. Then this behemoth, takes them to number 4, FCA, PSA. Then you've got GM. Then you've got Ford, Nissan, Honda, Suzuki. That's it. That's almost it now. Volvo owned by a Chinese company. And this is just, you just read this: Ram, Dodge, Lancia, Alfa, Fiat, Abarth, Chrysler, Jeep, SRT, Maserati, Peugeot, Vauxhall, Citroen,
Opel. Yeah.
Oh my life. Yeah. That's a heck of a lot of...
This is really interesting because if you remember a few years back, there was a period where the likes of Ford, for example, they bought Volvo, they bought Aston Martin, they bought Jaguar, Land Rover, and they had all those things. So they got a big stake in Mazda as well. But then they went the opposite way and decided that the way to go forward was to sell all these people, all these companies. So it's really interesting. I'm not surprised Ford are falling behind on this, number one. But yeah, there's not going to be any major car companies that are independent of someone else out there.
The way it'll work is like China buying into Volvo. If the Chinese company let Volvo do their own thing, I want to say it's is it Trumpchi? I'm trying to think of the company that I don't know the company that own Volvo. But if they let them do their own thing and just give them money, it's great. It starts to get annoying when you start to get sharing. I mean, this is why the last few years I've really edged towards Japanese, and I've driven quite a few Korean cars. The quality's not the same, and I've had a lot of Japanese cars because I know those parts aren't on anything else.
They're not shared parts with other groups.
Now, and you'll love this. Now, to bring you back to the Jaguar Land Rover group. Is it the X? What was this? The sports car that Jaguar made in the early to mid 90s?
The X-Type.
The X-Type. Okay, right. It was really expensive, wasn't it? And it wasn't it a winner at Le Mans?
Oh no, what was it called? It was called the XK8. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, this was very flat, two-seater, mid-engined sports car.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. Right. I was watching somebody reviewing this the other day in America. It was on another podcast that shall remain nameless. But they, unlike us, had cameras, and he took you round, the car. I thought, well, that's amazing, because I always wanted one of these things, and it was a Le Mans winner.
Yeah.
Except the switchgear. Yep, exactly the same as my old Ford Fiesta. And the door handles exactly the same as my old Ford Fiesta. Ford parts bin, and that's why I like driving what I drive now, which is a Honda, because it's pretty unique. You don't find that anywhere else. So
absolutely.
It is frightening. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe this is end of days for car production. I mean, this could be. This is where it's going. We won't have cars in the future. Maybe you'll rent a car. Maybe you'll have a contract, and there'll be enough. Because I suppose if we go down the route of thinking there'll be controlled parking zones everywhere, then you want to go from, say, here to there, and I don't know how specifically it would work. And then you would get another car when you get there to go somewhere else or come back to here.
I don't know. It's worrying.
I think the diminishing returns of car production mean you have to produce so many cars to be profitable, and this is the problem Tesla are hitting now, because they've stopped going from bespoke to sort of, they're trying to take on the big boys. You need to put so much into that, and I think at some point you're going to see somebody from China or somebody like GM will snap up Tesla.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be if. I think it's going to be when, because you need to put so much into that product to make it worth. Yeah, it's the laws of diminishing returns. You need to sell big units to make good profits.
Absolutely.
Right. As we reported last week in Bristol City Council has now approved plans for Britain's first no diesel zone in the city. As part of a drive to improve air quality in the area, the so-called Clean Air Zone will be implemented in 2021, has been devised as a means of delivering the fastest possible improvement in air quality, according to the council. The measurements will see privately owned diesel vehicles banned from entering a designated section of the city centre between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. every day. A wider charging zone could be in constant operation for high-emission commercial vehicles with vans and taxis facing a £9 fee, and buses £9, and buses and HGVs facing £100 fee for entering it.
£100.
£100. The announcement comes 2 years after Bristol City Council was ordered by the government to produce plans for bringing the area's NO2 levels to within legal limits. I'm assuming that's carbon dioxide. It's been suggested that the Clean Air Zone would help achieve this by 2025. The proposal still needs to be government approved, however. Okay. These ambitious plans, said Mayor Marvin Rees, demonstrate our commitment to tackling air pollution, so we'll meet legal limits within the shortest time without disproportionately affecting citizens on lower incomes. Well, that sounds like an absolute crock to me. Nicholas Lyce, head of policy at the RAC, said it's just going to push traffic on other roads. Major routes in and out of even a city like Temple Way and Brunel Way will become out of bounds with diesel vehicles forced onto other roads. My mother lives in Bristol in Filton, she did. She's now moved, but she lived there for about 20 years near the airport. Near the post office airport, which I think is now, and it's near where they built the
Brabazon and Concord and
that's
things
right.
like that.
Yep. Big, and there is no public transport. And about 5 years ago, they shelved plans to put in a tram service. There is no transport in that town. It's really hard to get around. To get from where she lived, which is not on the outskirts, into town, you could wait for an hour for a bus.
So let me get this straight. So what we're saying earlier on is there are controlled parking zones everywhere. So even if you do get into town, there's nowhere to park.
No.
And then you have to still pay the £9 or the £100 in order to get there as well.
Nobody's going to pay £9. You'll just go, screw it. I'm going to go and get a petrol car. I'm going to go and get a petrol
crazy.
car. Oh, yeah, I've got a Volvo V70 diesel. No, no, by the box of this, let's get rid of this.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yes. Oh, good.
No way.
Oh, hang on a second. Yes. Is that the end of the news?
That is the end of
Oh,
news.
that was the end of the news. Bear with me a moment. Talk among yourselves. I've just got to do
Ooh.
something technical, which will take me away from you, just for a very brief moment, dear listener.
Of course,
Right,
if
I'm
you
back.
do, yeah.
Time for our classic car selection. Oh, hang on. Hang on. I've got some music for this.
Oh yes.
It's awful. It's really bad. I think we should get. Jazz. Now time for the classic car. I think we might use that elsewhere. But that's the time for the classic car selection. It is a classic that can be used as a daily driver and won't cost the earth. This week, it's the Moggy, the humble Moggy. See, I said British
Yes.
Motor Company and Cats. The Morris Minor, of course, the original Minor, or poached egg, as Lord Nuffield delightfully called it. Initially complete with a side valve engine, it was a sedate performer, and it's even more so today. But thanks to delightful handling and steering, it's still a great car to drive. It truly is a British icon, but it was designed by the man behind the Mini Cooper.
Yes.
Sir Alex Isigonis, codenamed the Mosquito. He actually designed it during World War II, and it was launched in '48 and originally sold as a two-door saloon or tourer with grille-mounted headlamps. Under the four-door saloon was introduced in 1950. These had headlamps mounted in restyled front wings. The car is an icon of British motoring, and has been beloved by everyone, from little old ladies to the hippie generation of the 1960s, and even to the police. Yes, the police used the Morris Minor as a car right into the 1970s. Not that it would have been very good as a chase vehicle. It had a top speed of 77 miles an hour. I think that's when they called them panda cars.
They were that shade of. Were they a shade of blue?
They
Sort of
were
like powder blue.
powder blue with a white square, and for some reason they called them panda cars. The first generation of Morris Minors were replaced by the facelifted Series 2 in 1952, and but it now powered with an A Series engine from the Austin A30, and then all models received this engine from February 1952. By 1956, the Minor 1000 was the best of the lot. It remains so. For those who want to drive as well as show these cars, go post 1956. The larger A Series engines provided the power to match the handling. There were larger front brakes added at the same time, although these were still drum. Production models eventually ceased in 1971 when Morris stopped making the Traveller models. They are great little cars to work on. There's no electronics. Parts are easy to get for. Well, in the UK, you're going to struggle stateside with one of these cars, but in the UK, they are a popular classic, and parts are aplenty and cheap. You won't be seen as a speed demon in one. You're likely to find any envy or animosity towards you as well from fellow motorists, because everybody loves a Moggy. Money-wise, you can buy an undrivable one with no MOT that just won't start for £1,000, but it'll be a money pit. Rust is the big issue. It's a BMC car, British Motor Corporation. Outside panels can be replaced though, but check the monocoque body underneath and the underside of the car. A big one is the rear spring hangers. Check they're still working. With the engine, it's the usual things. Check for knocking, ensure the car hasn't producing blue smoke from the exhaust. Assure sign it needs a new head gasket. Trunnions and swivel pins at the front will wear out unless you're greasing them every 3,000 miles. Thank God we don't have to do that anymore. You've got to spend in the region of £3,000 to £4,000. You're going to get a serviceable car with a little patina of age, but splurge up to 12, which sounds like a lot of money, but you will get a show-stopping drop top, low mileage, near perfect body, perfectly tuned, clean engine. Mind you, you won't be able to catch the envious glances. You'll still be able to catch the envious glances of the public, I should say, as this thing does 0 to 60 in no less than 20 seconds.
Oh my word!
So put a smile on your face this year with a classic Moggy. That would be my advice.
I do like the Minor. I didn't realise they handled so well. I've never actually driven a Minor. So.
I've never driven one. Do they? I mean, you know, this is on the recommendation of those at the owners' club, and apparently they drive really nicely.
Oh, so bigger engine versions are the better of the A series as well. So
I had my friend's father worked. I was trying to remember. I've got to tell you this story. He worked at Longbridge.
yes,
And worked on the machine parts for Rover in Birmingham. and his daughter bought a minor in the 1980s to go to university in.
Yeah.
And she was boodling around on it, and she said, "Oh, it needs some work done." And he said, "Well, don't take it to uni. I'll keep it here, and I'll work on it. And then when you get back at Christmas, you'll have a car that's all fixed." Oh, brilliant! So off she goes to university, and he worked on the engine, and he finished that, and he thought, this isn't a very trendy car. I'm going to make this trendy. So he took off all the bright work, and he welded up all the holes.
Yeah.
He made it keyless entry. Right. He painted the whole thing matte black.
Yes.
And he said it looked like a demon car with a red interior. It didn't have demon speed.
Yeah.
And she came back from uni and went, "That's the best thing I've ever seen." It just looked like... I think he didn't realise he'd created a rat rod. I mean, this is probably 1982. It was before rat rods existed. But he said she drove that car for 10 years. She loved that.
It's like when you jack up the back, put a bigger axle on, bigger wheels, like a hot rod.
I've told you the story about some lads that did that to a princess at my school. And by that, listeners, I mean a car called the Princess, not a person. Didn't jack up some woman called Princess. Yes, the Austin Princess. They jacked it up. They put massive wheels on the back, and because it did look like a hot rod anyway, because it was the shape of a piece of cheese. But then what really spoilt it is they put an air scoop on the front.
Nice.
Need an air scoop in the engine. Should we do some Lost Highways?
Yes, let's do Lost Highways.
Here we go. Hang on. Here we go. In your own time. Yeah, this is our feature, Lost Highways, where listeners email in and give us their favourite roads and the reason they love them. This week, though, we're ignoring your emails. Sorry. We're focusing on Britain's first driving road in the UK that you could legally do any speed on, the M1.
That's right. Last Friday was exactly 60 years since the opening of the first section of what would later become known as the M1, the oldest motorway in Britain and one of the most historic and beloved roads.
Did you buy him a card?
No, I didn't. I forgot.
We should go down there with a bottle of champagne. It connected London to the north of England. The motorway is now established, and especially to the jaded commuter, mundane part of our motoring landscape. But travelling along the M1 wasn't always such an everyday thing. In fact, the motorway first opened for traffic. Its appearance was immensely exciting, and it was seen by many as a symbol of modernity.
Now, one of the main reasons why the M1 was groundbreaking was because of its scale. Italy had motorways since the 1920s, but Britain had to wait until nearly 40 years later for its first such road. A motorway which bypassed
Mussolini. Sorry. Not enough Mussolini in England.
Absolutely. Which passed Preston, which would eventually be part of the M6, if you don't know that part of the world. This road, however, was significantly shorter than the M1. To build the longer motorway, roughly 30 million cubic yards of earth had to be shifted. 150 bridges were made and 148 emergency telephones were constructed, and over 4,500 people were involved in creating the iconic road. The M1 was a triumph of modern engineering and human resolve.
Yes, at the grand opening of the M1, the government emphasised drivers must use discipline and common sense and obey the rules, or else risk disaster and tragedy. And of course, they didn't do that at all. For many years, there was no speed limit. I think we had 2 or 3 years. In fact, the road was used as a test track by Jaguar in Coventry, who used to race their pre-production E-Type up and down the motorway. Good boys.
I think that's one of the reasons why we have a speed limit on the roads as well. Isn't it?
Correct.
Of course, in 1959, there were no sat-navs. So sharp memory was paramount if you didn't want to miss your junction and have to keep on driving in the wrong direction until the next flyover. Drivers were advised to, quote-unquote, memorise before they start the road number of the flyover, which they must filter out. For a driver who misses his or her, I suppose in those it would be his, filter round.
It would be. Women don't drive in 1959.
No. There's no stopping, reversing, or turning around. He must press on to the next flyover, filter out, go round the roundabout, filter back onto the other carriageway, and return to the one he has missed.
Yes, drivers also needed to check for whether they had enough fuel for their journey before joining the motorway. For when the M1 opened, petrol stations had not been built, as well as keeping a close eye on their tyre pressure, which were crucial given the relatively high speeds you could be travelling on the newly built road. So happy 60th birthday to a great British road, although sometimes a pain in the backside, a frustrating one, the M1. Now, I was just thinking about that. That reminded me when I first started my first job, there was no sat navs, and I had a map of the UK. And my boss was such a tight-fisted git. He didn't buy little maps of the areas I'd be going to. So I had a map of the UK and a map of the area, but I didn't have town maps. So I had to remember. I'd get the petrol stations and go, dude, I'm looking for these offices. And he'd go, 3 streets along. And I'd be like remembering 3 streets along, 2 down, look at the church. 3 streets along, 2 down, look for the church. 3 streets along, 2 down, look at the church. And then I'd write that down on a piece of paper, and then I'd follow it to the letter. Or if I knew where I was going and I'd looked at a map, I would then write 3rd road on left, turn left by church. God, those days are gone. What's your first experience of the M1?
I can't remember my first experience of the M1. There's 2 things that strike me about the M1. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is no junction 13 on the M1. I think they don't have an official junction 13 because they said it would be unlucky. But I do like there's a section. There's an absolutely massive section on the M1 which I think is just near, not too far away from Stansted Airport. It's about 6 lanes wide. It's absolutely massive. And I used to drive up the M1 a lot, driving up and down to Manchester, and I do like that road. It's such a great road.
Iconic services at Leicester as well?
I think there
where
is.
It joins
I think
the M69.
You might be greeted by Engelbert Humperdinck now. I'm not quite sure, but I do know that there's the
please release me, let me go.
There's I really do like Newport Pagnell services on the M1 because of course Newport Pagnell is infamous for being the home of Aston Martin. And I know there's a bridge that you've got to cross to get to either side of the service stations on there.
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. I
do like, because on the walls they've got this giant sort of like picture of an Aston Martin going by in there as well.
That's cool. Very, very cool.
Celebrates its
my first experience was in a Vauxhall Corsa.
Oh, okay.
1.2, wait for it, 4-door saloon. It drove like a tank. It was my mother-in-law's, and it was my first holiday with my girlfriend at the time, who subsequently became my wife, and we were going to Ipswich for a week.
Nice.
What a lovely holiday. The coastal town, beautiful coastal town of Ipswich, which we went to for a week or so. I think we went to Folkestone Amusements as well. But I remember coming up to it, and this car was really heavy with jack shit acceleration. Yeah. So my foot's on the floor, and I'm trying to get on it, and then on the way back, and it was frightening, an absolute frightening experience.
I do remember
suddenly
those.
I'm on it. Oh my god! I'm on it.
I do remember those saloons as well. They were awful. Who would have thought that?
I don't know. It's a bit like I always think the Ford Focus saloon is just, it's going to be an old guy.
Yes.
You're just it won't have much mileage on, and he's
Parish driving.
And if you're buying it second hand, guess what happened to the original owner?
Ooh,
his wife's selling it because he's passed on. A Focus with a boot is a sad sign. Actually, do you know what? This thing drove like a tank. You couldn't kill it until my brother-in-law did kill it. And drove the back of a van. Idiot. Yeah. It was a lovely, lovely car. Very nice car. No power at all. But yeah, the M1 now, of course, if you go on it these days, you're unlikely to get it above 60 miles an hour. And I was travelling from Essex to the north of England the other day, and I ended up going on the A1 because I knew there are huge sections. There's been a building program going on for at least the last 10 years.
Yes.
And there are huge, huge, huge sections of the motorway that are virtually unusable.
Is it because it's the average 50 mile an hour speed limits and things like that on there as well?
Yeah. I mean, it's so much roadworks going on there. Everything's down. If you're not from the UK, if you're listening abroad, we have this thing where we're narrowing roads, making roads new. I mean, the M1 was made of concrete. They're slowly trying to replace that, but that process feels like it's been about 10. I know it's been about 10 years because I used to go up to various weddings up in Yorkshire with members of the family in Leeds and Sheffield, and we went up for christenings and that. all those kids are coming up to 10 years old. So
Mm.
we were going to the wedding up there and then the christening up there, and okay, yeah, now they're 10 years old. Yeah, that's how long they've been working on the M1. But it is a great motorway. It's our first motorway, and yeah, a little bit of a celebration there. Right, shall we take a look at the correspondence we've had in this week's Car-boyz post-sack?
Ooh,
Yet
yes,
again,
please.
bulging with mail. First off, Tony in Warrington wants to know if he should go for petrol in his next car or stick to diesel. We were talking about earlier on. He wants to buy a second-hand car. He's got £8,000 to spend. He's worried he'll get stung by the government if he goes for diesel. He currently drives an 8-year-old Volvo V70 diesel.
Mm.
He uses it for commuting, but only 20 miles a day.
Yes.
Why not just buy petrol V70?
Yeah, I do like the V70, but as I said, if you look at what's happened in Bristol and everything like that, yeah, just don't go for diesel. I don't see the need for diesel anymore.
No. Yeah. Well, the problem with the good thing with diesel was it was worth it. In the UK, diesel prices are far superior to gasoline prices. So there's no point buying a diesel unless you're going to do over 20,000 miles a year.
And modern engines are pretty good anyway now, so
yeah,
I would say yeah.
I mean, there's such a slight difference in me having a 2.4 petrol or the 2-litre diesel in the Honda Accord I drive. I mean, the mileage is slightly better, and I did drive for a while a VW Passat diesel, and it just never needed filling up. But you really got to do the mileage to make it worthwhile. You've really got to do the mileage. So, yeah, go and get it. Go and get it. Go and get what you like. Drive a load of stuff. I wouldn't buy a BMW because they fall to bits.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy Mercedes because they fall to bits. I might buy something Japanese. If you're in love with Volvo, stick with Volvo.
Yeah, can't go wrong with Volvo.
Get a petrol version of what you've currently got. Just maybe a more modern version, or just keep driving what you've got.
Yeah. Depreciation pretty much disappears. Yeah, just keep hold of it.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go, Tony. We have an email from Alan, who's in Swansea. He says he's a fan. He's a lovely boy. He says he's a fan.
Indian, Welsh. Sorry, I might be Indian. Could be an Indian man in.
Yeah, South Indians. That's why it's called Alan. He's a fan of Alfa Romeo, but can't stand their unreliability. He wants a sporty car with more reliability. So
forget Alfa, and reliability isn't there in their lexicon, is it? Really?
Yeah. What did you think?
German or Japanese? BMW 5 Series M Sport. Going to be more reliable than Alfa Romeo. Honda S2000 if he wants a sporty car.
See, I was going to go for a compromise. If he likes his Italian cars, but he wants Japanese reliability, what about the Fiat 124, which is based on the Mazda MX-5?
Oh, yeah, good choice.
You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
Italian.
so you've effectively got a reliable car that is really it's the MX-5, but with some different badges on it, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, let's face it. Hey, Mandibella, I saw one the other day, and it looked gorgeous. It was done in racing colours, and it looks great. It looks absolutely fantastic. I'm going to let you talk about that because I've just got to go. I've got guests. Hang on, I've got to go and deal with some guests. Carry on, Dibble.
I would do another one. We've got Maxi in Brixton who wants to know: is a car worth buying? She's a street car, a lot for shopping and days out, but is beginning to build up costs. Should she get a little runaround? So, if you don't know these are like these car clubs that you can get, and there are various other ones. There's Zip Car, people like that, and you can hire these cars just for the journey that you're going to do. So. Can be pretty good because you haven't got to worry about. All you just got to do is hire a thing, put a bit of petrol in, and that would usually work.
What are we talking about now?
We're doing the question from Maxi in Brixton who wants to know if her car's worth buying. So I'm saying these car clubs are pretty good because all you just have to do is fill it up and go. It could work, but she's saying that the costs are building up. So
I saw this later and I thought. Oof. It's really you've got to lay out £500 a year to run a car at least. Servicing, and then you got your insurance,
tax.
Get something really cheap: Toyota, Aygo, Honda, Jazz, Piaggio, Nippo, Suzuki, Alto. You get them for £1,000. You're going to probably spend £500 a year at least keeping it on the road, maybe more. It's the on-the-road cost is the issue. So you've got to sit down and work out. It's going to at least be 300 for servicing. Say another 100 for road tax. Insurance. She lives in Brixton. Oh my God, 400. Even if she's got the best license in the world. So let's say that's taken us we're up to 800 already, and then incidentals. Let's say $1,000 to run that car. Forget the cost of buying it. So that's $1,000 a year. Now, Brett, are you spending $1,000 a year when you're using streetcar or the sort of higher things?
Yeah.
I think you've got to work that out. It's a bit like leasing cars is big in the UK at the moment, but I still think it's more expensive to lease than actually just go out and buy a second-hand car. Because if you put down what your car, how much your car is going to depreciate every year. I mean, I've got a relatively expensive car and I've had it for 5 years, and so far it's lost $1,000 every year.
Yeah,
depreciation. If I go and spend say 1,500 quid on a car, well, maybe it's only going to lose 150. I'd say your depreciation is round about 10% per year, give or take. She's got to work that out. So certainly a lease car is not going to be worth it because that's going to be 250 a month. So that takes you to what? 2,000?
2.5, just over nearly $3,000 a year.
And then you've got to put your insurance on that.
Yeah.
So I would buy a second-hand car. I would look at how much you're spending. It all comes down to convenience, and the convenience of having a car outside. Go, we can go. Is that? Can you budget $1,000 a year? And if you can, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we think anything else for Alan in Swansea on his Alfa Romeo?
No. I think Fiat 124. Yeah,
I like it. I like it. Rachel, 2710 from Mexico City. She's got a really hola, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien, gracias. She has a really old 1970s VW Super Beetle, which she says is mucho grande. She says she loves it, but is worried about its age. What do you guys think of the newer Beetles? What do you reckon?
What are they? They're Golfs underneath. Is that
Golf
right?
platforms. They've always been the Golf platform. I hated the first lot that came out. They looked like dog. They were very much a girly car with a bloody plastic flower in the front. I hated that as well. I despised that. That is not the idea that Sophia had when Ferdinand Porsche came up with the Beetle in 1936. I think the newer ones are quite cool. My father's friend, lady of a certain age, she's just treated herself to one. She had an old Transfer Fire. It kept breaking down. And I was saying to her, "What's it like?" She said, "It's amazing because it's jet black. It's a soft top. When the soft top's down, it looks good. The Beetle never looked good with the soft top down. It looked crap.
It looked awkward.
It like a soft top. I never thought a soft top Morris Minor looked anything. This thing looks beautiful with the soft top down, and she's got these like deep dish alloy wheels that look amazing. And it's in jet black, and it's got a red, like a blood red interior leather.
Ooh, nice.
It looks cool. I think the newer ones. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, and that was, of course, the car I think started the trend to go back to these retro cars. So you had the Beetle, and then the Mini. You would have also had Fiat 500 and cars like that. So,
I think the newer one looks almost like a Porsche Speedster.
Yeah, it looks a lot fresher as well, doesn't it? They improved the lights and things like that. I like them.
Oh shit! Did they think they do Siroccos in Mexico City? I really like the Sirocco or the Scirocco. That's I worked with a guy from Utah years ago who we worked in central London on this event. Yeah. And he said, "I love those little cars," and I went, "It's not really a little car." And he goes, "That's a tiny little car over there. It's a VW Scirocco. It's cute though, isn't it?" It's not really little here. No, it is. It is. Yeah, but in Utah it is. You've got huge highways. We've got these tiny little roads that are like 4,000 years old and put down by the bloody Celts. You ain't gonna get a Cadillac down these little British roads. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I know I'm right. I live here. I've been to America. I'd love American cars. In America, in England, no go. But we reckon that's a cool car. Do we think?
I think it's cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Yes. Go and get one of those, unless you can get a a VW Scirocco in Mexico City. And muchas gracias for les correspondants.
Should we do the quiz?
Yes, hang on. I've got to get some quiz music up and running. Hang on.
I love that. This is my favourite part of the show. I love the quiz music.
Yes. Sorry. I must apologise to the dear listener that I had to disappear away. A member of my family needed the toilet.
Yes.
But to be honest, he's only 3 years old. Right. Are we? Yes. Right. Let's have a bit of music for the quiz.
Dun, 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 dun.
This week we've added cowbell. Lovely.
Can't go wrong with cowbell.
No, everything sounds better with more cowbell. Go on.
As I said, it's my opportunity to be Steve Jones from the Pimmerid game. Yes, it is the Car-boyz quiz coming live from London. Have you ever looked at your car and wondered, how did those parts first appear there? That's right. This week's quiz, some random things. This week it is, what was the first car, for example, with heated front seats? Or what was the first car that had a cup holder? The quiz this week asks our contestant, Richard, from Southwest London, all of these questions. Now, some of these are quite hard, so we've tried to make these as simple as possible. And what we'll do is we'll give you the car, and all you have to tell me is, from a multiple choice answer, is what part did they introduce? So, are you ready?
Yes, down. I think so. Yes.
Look in. So car number one, the 1978 Mercedes-Benz W116. What did that introduce? Did it introduce tinted windows or anti-lock brakes?
1978. I'm going to say anti-lock brakes.
Bing is the right answer.
Ooh.
Have we got a cowbell still or not?
Yes, here. There you go.
The W116 became the first production car to use an electronic four-wheel multi-channel anti-lock braking system from Bosch.
Nice.
And was the option from 1978 onwards. So, yes, 1 point for you. Scores on the doors. Question number two. The 1973 Oldsmobile Tornado. Tornado. Okay. Did that introduce head restraints or airbags?
Nah, 73. Going to go head restraints. Yeah, I reckon head restraints.
Oh, it's the right answer. Yes, airbags were introduced commercially in the 1973 Oldsmobile Tornado.
That's insane.
And it was the first car with a passenger airbag to be sold to the public. General Motors, though, later on offered the option of a driver's side airbag from 1976 onwards. So,
I can't believe that's so early. I would never have had that.
Yes.
Hang on. The first car I had an airbag was about 10 years ago.
Yes, I had a Fiesta from 2003 that had an airbag. That was the first car I had.
Yeah, the first one I had was 2004 Honda. Before that, nothing I had airbags. Good luck. You know the singer Sammy Davis Jr. That's how he lost his eye because he drove this car and instead of being an airbag, there was a large spike in the middle of the. It was like in the middle of the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
He punctured his eye on that. Yeah.
There you go. The show is educational as well.
Sorry. Where's my machinery? Go on, sorry.
Incorrect on that one. So, question number three. We're going back a bit. This is 1903. The Spiker 60 HP or the 60 horsepower. Did it introduce four-wheel drive, or did it introduce the carburettor?
1903.
1903.
Carburettor or four-wheel drive? Carburettor or four-wheel drive? I think I had to have carburettors before 1903. I'm going to go four-wheel drive.
Is the right answer. The world's first four-wheel drive internal combustion engine car was the 1903 Spiker 60 HP, which is on display in a museum in the Netherlands currently. It was not until the Second World War, though, that there was a need to go anywhere 4x4 utility vehicles. So,
cool.
It appeared on the Spiker, so correct answer. Number four, going back a bit, we're going to move into time later on.
Okay.
The 1936 Cord 810, it will be forever known as what? The first car with air conditioning or pop-up headlamps?
35?
1936.
Oh, a difficult one. I think I've seen this car. I'm going to go for aircon.
Oh, it's the right answer.
Really? It was pop-up headlamps?
Yeah, and global warming hadn't started in 1936, I don't think. The car was the first one to build with pop-up lights. So incorrect. So you're currently drawing two correct, two incorrect. Number 5, the 1937 Nash. Was it the first car to have a sunroof or power steering? Sunroof or power steering?
Yeah, there's going to be cars with... I'm going to go for power steering.
Oh, no.
It was sunroof?
It's sunroof.
Really?
It was offered on the 1937 model Nash. The car company was based in Wisconsin. It had a metal panel that could be opened and slid back to let the sun or fresh air in.
Oh, I'm not doing very well.
I also learnt that... No, you're doing all right. I also learnt that there's a difference between sunroof and moonroof. So technically, your car, if it's got a glass sunroof, it's called a moonroof, and if it's metal, it's called a sunroof.
What about if you've got a Webasto roof?
So incorrect.
You're probably broken down if you've got a Webasto roof. Wait from the RAC or the AA.
Question number 6, a bit more modern now.
Yes.
1988, the VW Corrado, which appeared on our classic car feature a few weeks ago. Was it the first car to have red paint that didn't fade or an automatic rear spoiler?
Do you know what? I'm sorry, but I think all red paint fades eventually. I'm going to go for the rear spoiler.
Yes, that is correct. Ping
I've driven a 1992 VW Polo that was frigging pink because the paint had faded so badly.
Absolutely. So yes. So it was the Corrado. It was the first car to have a fully automatic rear spoiler. So correct. 3-all it is.
Yeah.
Number 7, the 1922 Austin Healey 100S. Was it the first car to have disc brakes all round or rear fog lamps?
I'm going to go for rear fog lamps.
Oh, I thought you would have got that right. It's disc brakes all round. The aluminium-bodied Austin Healey 100S, of which there were 50 made.
Damn.
Was the first car in the public to have disc brakes on all 4 wheels.
Fair enough.
Let's bring it up to date again. 1991, the Bugatti EB110, which was a car, if you didn't know, was owned by, amongst others, Michael Schumacher. Was it the first car to feature a V16 engine or the first road car to be made of carbon fibre?
I can't remember what this looks like.
It's kind of got a flat nose.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the carbon fibre.
Bing! It's the right answer. Yes, it was. Its first production car with carbon fibre monocoque, the EB110 Bugatti. Cool. So, correct. It's 4-all. Let's see where we go with this one. The 1966 Porsche 911S. Was it the first car to feature a rear engine, or was it the first car to have alloy wheels? Come on, think. You can get this. Come on. Rear engine or alloy wheels?
I think Porsche. I'm going to go for alloy wheels because the Speedster had a rear engine.
It did.
Alloy wheels.
Bing is the right answer. Yes, the Porsche introduced their first alloy wheel on the 1966 model and was a standard fitment on the 911.
You do realise that those cunning Germans at Stuttgart stole the idea from the Porsche, allegedly from Tatra.
Did they?
Because Tatra in the Czech Republic, who had a great rallying history, they were the first people to put the engine at the rear. And if you look at Tatras in the 30s, you can, and obviously, Hitler sort of wandered into Czechoslovakia in, 37, 38.
Yes.
Whoops! The theory is that, yes, the Porsche 911 was actually merely a Czech design.
Nice. So, last question, number 10.
Okay. Yeah.
And going back a bit, you can win this one. The 1912 Lancia Lambda was the first car to have what? Independent front suspension or leather seats? Come on. You can do this.
Independent front suspension.
Bing is the right answer. Yes, of course. Coil springs used on most cars today. The Leyland motors used torsion bar suspension, but the Lancia was the first one to have independent front suspension.
Did it win the FSO Polonaise?
Yes, she did in 60 Day Red. It's more pink than red at the moment, but yes.
I hope it's faded in places. Oh, I'm so happy. I'd like to thank all my family and especially my son for disturbing this broadcast today because he needed to go for a big poo.
He wanted to be our first guest.
Yeah, he was really our first guest, wasn't he? You
Yeah.
probably heard me halfway through the show as well. I was tearing up sellotape because he was making something on the floor with a box. This is probably not. I wouldn't advise parenting like this, but needs must when the devil harries. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Thanks for listening. That's it from us this week. Email the Car-boyz at carboys@outlook.com. Carboys@outlook.com. Car-boys, I should say, at outlook.com. It's all always Car-boyz with a Z. Facebook, we're Car-boys at Car-boyz, boys with 4 Zs. Twitter, Car-boys at Car_boys, Car-boys at Car_boys. Thank you for tuning into the show. Get lost. Get a life. That's what I'm going to try and do. I have to see the fireworks now. What are you doing?
Having a cup of tea.
Oh, you know how to live. It's all rock and roll. Bye.
Bye.